Once upon a time, in a remote mountain range, far from the hustle and bustle of cities and towns, there existed a secluded monastery. This sanctuary of wisdom and enlightenment was home to monks who dedicated their lives to inner cultivation. Among them was a young monk named Li, a seeker of the secrets of the mind. After years of strict training in meditation and reading ancient scriptures, Li felt he had reached an impasse. Though his mind was sharp and his body disciplined, a nagging feeling told him something was missing. Upon hearing about an elder monk named Master Hu was said to have unparalleled wisdom in the workings of the mind, Li sought his counsel. With a humble heart and eager spirit, he climbed the rocky terrain leading to the small cottage where Master Hu spent most of his days in meditation and contemplation. When Li arrived, he was met with silence. Master Hu was seated in a simple wooden chair, eyes closed, absorbed in profound serenity. The air around him seemed to hum with a calm but powerful energy. "I've come to understand the power of the mind, Master." Li broke the silence. "Will you teach me?" Master Hu opened his eyes, meeting Li's gaze with an inscrutable look. He reached beside him and picked up a small clay pot filled with soil and a single seed resting beside it. "Plant the seed," Master Hu instructed, his voice as still as the untouched surface of a pond. Confused but intrigued, Li planted the seed in the pot and began caring for it, watering it meticulously and making sure it was exposed to just enough sunlight. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Yet the soil remained barren, the seed dormant. Frustration mounted in Li's heart. "I've failed," he thought. One day, unable to contain his restlessness, he approached Master Hu. "Master, the seed hasn't sprouted. Have I done something wrong? Is the seed infertile?" Li's voice quivered with disappointment. Master Hu walked over to the pot and peered into it as if reading an ancient script. Finally, he looked up and said, "Or perhaps the problem isn't the seed, but the soil." His words hung in the air like a riddle. Li pondered on them for days and nights. Then it occurred to him that perhaps the soil was a metaphor for his own mind. Had he been nurturing his mind in the right way? Embracing this new understanding, Li sat beside the pot and entered into a deep state of meditation. This time, his mind was not filled with expectations or frustration. Instead, he poured into the soil his sincerest wishes for the seed's growth, accompanied by a newfound compassion and love for all life. Days later, to his astonishment, a tiny sprout broke through the surface of the soil. Overwhelmed with joy, Li ran to Master Hu. "It grew! It really grew!" Li exclaimed, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Master Hu smiled a gentle smile. "Your mind was the soil. Only when it was fertile did the seed grow. Remember, the world outside is a reflection of the world inside." Flushed with his success, Li asked, "And now that I understand this, what should I wish for?" Master Hu leaned closer, his voice barely a whisper. "Wish for nothing. Desire nothing. Instead, be mindful of your responsibility. With great power comes the need for even greater wisdom." Li pondered the master's words deeply. He realized that understanding the power of the mind wasn't a destination, but a journey. It was not enough to wield power. He had to know how to use it wisely, how to balance it with humility, and how to couple it with compassion. The seed was no longer just a seed. It was a living, breathing lesson in wisdom and responsibility. And as the plant continued to grow, so did Li. He realized that enlightenment was not a state to be achieved, but a path to be walked. And so he walked it, each step taken with the mindfulness of the seed and soil, understanding that each thought, each action was a planting for the future. Li spent years under the tutelage of Master Hu, delving deeper into the complexities of the mind and existence. Eventually, he became a master in his own right, guiding other young seekers who came to him as he once did, filled with questions and yearning for wisdom. But no matter how much he learned, or how many he taught, Li never forgot the simple but profound lesson of the seed and the soil. For in that tiny sprout, he had found an entire universe of understanding, a wellspring of wisdom that reminded him that the answers he sought were not out in the world, but within him. For Lee, the journey never ended. He walked the path of enlightenment, not as a solitary traveler but as a guide, leaving behind seeds of wisdom for others to find and cultivate. And though the monastery stood far removed from the world, the ripples of the wisdom discovered within its walls reached far and wide, touching lives and illuminating minds. In the grand tapestry of existence, Lee became both a seed and a sower, understanding at last that the true power of the mind lay not in conquering the external world, but in mastering the inner one. In finding the universe within a single seed, Lee discovered that the most profound journeys often start and end in the same place, within the depths of one's own being. And so, in a world endlessly searching for answers, Lee found his in the simplicity of a seed, the fertility of soil, and the boundless possibilities contained within the quiet recesses of the mind. If you have gained value from this video, give it a like and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching.